tests at Westbury, but is already confident that dangerous dioxins will not be emitted.
I'm fairly certain we would be asking for some dioxin measurements, although it's also fair to add that from the chemicals which make up tyres, we would not expect to see any significant amount of dioxins released.
The trials at the factory, which provides work for more than 200 people, will begin soon, closely monitored by the agency. Steve Brodie, BBC News West, Westbury.
Work has been halted on a new leisure centre in North Bristol because of a cash crisis. The centre at Bradley Stoke is being built by Team Management Western, but companies associated with it have experienced financial problems. South Gloucestershire Council hopes that work on the £2 million project will start again as soon as possible.
Cider makers in Somerset fear that sales could be hit by the new threat from neighbouring competitors. Independent cider makers in Gloucestershire have won a European mark of good quality. It's the first time the award has been given to a cider making region. It means the Gloucestershire drink has been tested to the same quality as best champagne.
The sweet taste of success. The cider of Gloucestershire in a class of its own and achieving the same recognition as the winemakers of Bordeaux, Chianti or Champagne. Here in the Vale of Berkeley, the final checks are being made to last autumn's cider apple crop before it goes on sale. The county's small independent cider makers, along with producers in Herefordshire and Worcestershire, can advertise their bottles with the European stamp of approval, provided the apples are grown in the county, are bittersweet, and all the juice is freshly pressed.
There's soil and a variety of apples, but you don't want rotten fruit in it. You want it to be ripe, but not, firm. But
I think it's great that long last Gloucestershire cider's got some sort of recognition. It's cider making in Gloucestershire has got a very long tradition. It was made in most farms in the Berkeley Vale in particular, which is where we are. Farm workers' wages weren't particularly high, but as a perk they had an endless supply of cider.
But while Gloucestershire cider makers hope their award will see the county's industry blossom, competitors in Somerset are still waiting for theirs. Julian Temperley makes cider and cider brandy and, along with other producers in the county, has applied for a European PGI award, or Appellation Contrôlée.
These trees here produce apples in Somerset. They go to produce Somerset cider. And I look forward to the day when that Somerset cider on the label means that the apples come from Somerset. And I think that's really the holy grail for all cider makers. Whoever gets that prize will be the winner. I think the Hereford people have won a small battle, but we will undoubtedly win the war.
The small cider companies of Somerset know they have some catching up to do. They're waiting now to see whether their neighbours' award will affect their sales. Russell Trott, BBC News West.
It's one of the biggest industries in the West Country. It employs thousands of people and generates around £2.5 billion a year. It's tourism, and the holiday season officially starts this Easter. But pulling in the visitors is getting tougher. Our business and industry correspondent Malcolm Frith has been sampling some of the best the West has to offer.
25 years ago, the West Country had around 30 major tourist attractions. Today, there are more than 300 to choose from, and the competition is getting tougher. Mr. Blobby may think he rules the theme park at Crick and St Thomas in Somerset, but this year it could be this new water ride that pulls in the crowds. It's cost its owners nearly £800,000. Last year, the park attracted 500,000 visitors. It's hoping it can do the same this year.
Every year, you must look to develop and enhance the attraction you've got, because the public are always looking for what there is about. There are a lot of attractions in the West Country, and you just need to be ahead of the game.
25 miles up the road in Somerset is Wookey Hole. Last year, it attracted around 300,000 visitors, but year on year, those numbers are falling. Now they've called in the Witch of Wookey Hole to revive their fortunes.
Come and see me in my cave.
But while new ideas have to be constantly thought up, in the 90s, the habits of the day tripper is changing.
In the last few years, there's been much more fundamental change. The Shopping Act came through 2 or 3 years ago, means that I think 50% of the population shop on Sundays these days, whereas at one time they went out to tourist attractions and so on.
Setting its sights on joining the big league is the Sea Life Centre at Weston-super-Mare. Here, the Sharks are out in force, determined to win the tourist battle. Opened last year, it cost just under £2 million and brought in 190,000 visitors. No gimmicks or actors here.
It's very easy to sort of fall into the trap of saying we have to do something new and cheer. That works very much for theme parks. If we rely on new rides coming through, a situation like we have here in the Sea Life Centre, we have one product. It's a very fresh product, it's quite innovative, but we need to enhance it. Now, we can't enhance it by spending lots of money on it, so we put all our sort of resource into the experience and giving people the right sea life experience.
Today's day tripper is seeking bigger thrills and excitement, but industry analysts say that those operators who can afford to invest in new attractions will continue to see the crowds flocking through their turnstiles, while others may be forced out of business. Malcolm Frith, BBC News West.
Well, tourism may be worth millions of pounds to the West, but do we do enough to promote it? Are the attractions for day trippers and holiday makers varied enough? And are they value for money? Well, that's the subject of our talking point tonight on BBC Local Radio. Give Chris Mills a call now on 0345 665555 and let him know your views.
Now, if the sight of a spider in the bath sends you running and a cockroach gives you the creeps, then Bristol Zoo's latest attraction may leave you more than a little shaken. The Insect House opened its doors today after a complete refurbishment, and the new Bug World marks the first stage of a multi-million-pound scheme to update the attractions at the zoo.
Creatures from another world, giant mutations in old B-movies, nasty eight-legged beasts in the bath. Insects have never really had a good press, but here in Bristol Zoo they're getting 5-star treatment following a £300,000 refurbishment of the Insect House, now known as Bug World.
There's something for everybody. I mean, some people love an octopus, some love a giant snail, some love bees, ants, whatever. Yes, I think there's something for everybody. And I'd be a very strange person who went away not really intrigued or really impressed by some of our exhibits.
With the crowds gathering at the grand opening, this was a chance to see the first stage of a £5 million redevelopment scheme currently taking place at the zoo.
Zoos like Bristol Zoo, they've got a great past. And Bristol is great because they've realised that their future depends on things like this, that they can fit into this rather small site. They've gone away from the old idea of what a zoo is, and they're moving into the 21st century. They're ready for it already.
The Bug House features environments that range from the hot desert to the garden shed, and some even more unusual settings. And it's not limited to just insects. Anything without a spine is welcome. As well as being a place for people to visit, the Bug House will be used as a breeding centre to help conserve some of the world's endangered insects. For the first-time visitors, it was a fascinating, if scary, experience.
I say, like them, they're big and creepy. I like the hairiness, and I also like the mini spiders and the money spiders.
It's a marvellous exhibit, and it's so great the kids can get underneath and come through that bubble there and look into it and get close up to them. Very good indeed.
Absolutely fantastic, very exciting, lots of movement, colour and activity, and I think it's really super. Children will love it.
Of course, you don't have to look at the insects behind glass screens and wire cages. The brave ones amongst you can let them crawl over your shoulders and down your shirt. It's Khalid Khan, BBC News West, Bristol Zoo. Oh. Do you want a hand?
Our fearless reporters risking all to bring you the news. Well, now to sport, and both Bristol's football teams are in action tonight, and both desperately need points if they're to reach the promotion playoff zone of the second division. Bristol